of all, I'm thrilled to be here. I have been part of the Philadelphia food scene for about 25 plus years. And one thing that we all know living in Philadelphia is what an amazing food scene we have. And I think we've constantly been improving over the past 20 years, the diversity, the quality, the number of restaurants, and the number of award-winning restaurants. And so Michelin coming to Philadelphia for, I think, many restaurateurs just confirms even further that Philadelphia is a world-class restaurant scene. So Michelin is an international, I guess, rating organization or hotel or restaurant rating system that has a long history. And for Philadelphia to be included in that, I think is a huge deal. And it really just seals the deal that Philly is a world-class food city, which we all already do.
Yeah, I'll add in that this has been building for quite some time, to Ellen's point. The James Beard Foundation, which is another organization, their methodologies are completely different, but they've been putting us on the map for, gosh, I'm thinking some of the earlier James Beard winners, like uh, Susanna Fu, for example. I think she won a James Beard Award in around 98, 99, something like that. And it's been, Philly's been building and building and building. And now when the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they had an agreement with Michelin to come in and evaluate Philadelphia restaurants. And of course, when the city struck this deal with Michelin, Philly knew that we would get some kind of accolade, but we had no idea how the Michelin inspectors would rate our restaurants. And to have three one-star restaurants was a pretty big accolade. And then, of course, the recommended restaurants, the Bib Gourmands, which is another category of Michelin winners. And I mean, I'm hearing even more buzz this year, or at the end of we're in 26, right? Well, since the Michelin Awards, I've heard a lot more buzz about Philadelphia as a destination, and of course, leading into 2026, when we're getting all these exciting events, it's all going to work together. So I think we're poised right now for even more. Well, I mean, people are making arrangements, and I just for example, like we sometimes in journalism we actually plan for things. Like you guys have been thinking 2026 for a long time, but journalists typically, oh wow, it's coming, it's next week, we've got to do something. But I actually heard from the sports desk today, and they're asking me for restaurant recommendations from all of these countries who will be sending players and fans to Philadelphia. Um, I'm not a critic and I'm not the best person to ask, but we're going to put it to the food team. And, you know, France is one of the countries. I'm thinking, wow, we have some pretty good French food here.
Mhm.
And so that's going to be, we're actually planning our coverage around that. And food is a big talking point here when it comes to international visitors. Food is a major component of it.
Well, I just think about when I travel, the first thing I do is I want to know where I'm going to eat, where
Yeah.
I'm staying, where I'm going to eat. And, I myself, I look at if I'm traveling internationally, Michelin is definitely a resource that I would use, that I would use to compare with other, articles from the usual CN Traveler, Travel and Leisure, all those type of publications, but it just kind of ties everything together. And, depending on the type of traveler you are and what you're looking for, helps round things out.
Yeah, my take is that a lot of people are going to be making the reservations. Well, I mean, most places now take 30 days out, so it's going to be tough. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. If if there's a match scheduled, and I don't even know what the schedules are, but I'm just making this up. Let's say matches are in July, the restaurant schedules, unless they have a buyout of some kind, which for some of these restaurants could be a challenge because they're small and, well, I don't know. Um, I think that this is also a great opportunity for restaurants that are not in Michelin or James Beard winners to position themselves as destinations, or at least get their names out there. And I can't suggest a way to do that, but you know, the I think there are going to be a lot of busy restaurants that are not necessarily in the Michelin beard sphere.
No, I agree with that 100%. First of all, not all our restaurants were on those lists, so
Yeah.
we hope that they'll be busy. But I think that based on location, based on how people do searches, we're certainly making sure that all our what every other business is doing, making sure that all your information online is accurate, making sure you have a strong digital presence because people do research digitally. So, making sure that your SEO is right, all those things to prepare for people to be able to find you. And also, just revisiting all those great relationships we have with our travel friends and hotel friends and making sure that, that we're out there.
Oh, and you want to take that? I'll pick up after you.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Michelin is international. Like we said, James Beard is focused on American and American foodways, American food, the stories of how chefs have evolved over the past 20 years, and really just about, I think because James Beard reviews everything on a annual, like a kind of one body of work during a period of time. And their awards range from outstanding restaurant, new restaurant, chefs from every region. Um, it's more about your work in that period of time than where Michelin is about the quality of your food, which is something that you're building consistency over a longer period of time. And I would say that that's one of the primary differences. But obviously, both are meaningful for local, regional, and national travel. And I think that there are people abroad who do know what James Beard is and certainly take that into consideration.
Yeah, that's all great, really great points. James Beard is also judged essentially by um, they're not like, all right, let me describe how Michelin is. They have a devoted staff that travels the world and supposedly um judges restaurants on one level. So if you have a 1 star in Philadelphia, it's the same as if you have 1 star in Paris, for example. It's supposed to be the same level playing field. James Beard is not really rated or judged by um outside professionals. It's really an internal, it's food writers, it's some chefs. The process is, of course, is a little bit mysterious, but it's uh, it's not as I don't know. Scientific isn't really the right word either, but
I mean, I think that the James Beard Award it reflects ebbs and flows in relevancy in terms of like what's happening in the food world at that particular moment. Not to say that it's trendy, but um, for example, I'm trying to think of something that would make sense there. But agreed that the judges for the James Beard Award are typically media or you know high level people in the food and beverage world, and they have a 500-person voting body, is what I
Yeah.
believe.
And every,
Michelin, no one knows who the inspectors are, so it's a completely anonymous,
yeah.
supposedly. Yeah.
And by the way, next, a week from today, on the 21st, the Beards are going to be announcing what we call the long list, which is the semifinalists for each city. So there'll be an announcement of maybe 20 restaurants and chefs in each category. And from then they weed it down to the finalists, that's going to be announced March 31st, and then the awards are June 15th. I think the awards are going to be coming right around the start of the real summer season. So it should be interesting. I mean, restaurants who won the Michelin or were awarded Michelins, they're not winners, but they were awarded Michelins in November, immediately started marketing themselves with Michelin recommended or just Michelin in their Instagram bios and all of their collateral. So this is something that restaurants will definitely promote, and justifiably so. They should.
Yeah, yeah, one more thing I just want to say is if you win a James Beard Award as outstanding chef or whatever, you can't qualify for the same award again. So if you're best chef mid-Atlantic, you're not going to be best chef mid-Atlantic numerous times. You could be outstanding chef, but Michelin, you're rated every single year for 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, recommended, whatever that might be. Um, Obviously positive. I think that there is a boost in business, perhaps, as restaurateur, maybe nobody cares about restaurateurs, we're just the business people behind the scenes. So it's less sexy than maybe being chef, but we definitely did see a increase of about 10% of in business in 2023, 2024. With the Michelin, it's still TBD because it just happened. Definitely seeing more people, and this might go into another one of your questions, but definitely seeing people, because High Street is a restaurant that is very approachable and is not really a tasting um, restaurant. It's not a tasting restaurant. It's celebrates local, and it celebrates everyday food that is approachable to everyone. So perhaps some people are coming in and saying, "Oh, this is not Michelin." You know what I mean? So that is one thing that we have had some people making comments about. But I mean, anytime you're rated, even if Craig Laban reviews us and gives us an amazing review or a bad review, if it's a great review, there's always going to be people saying, "Oh, it's not as good as he says." And if it's not good, there's always going to be people saying, "Oh, I thought you should have gotten a better review." So, it's all subjective. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that is characteristic of Philly because of our just the real estate that's in our city. A lot of it is small, and so it is harder to get into some of these small restaurants just by nature of their size, and that can be really frustrating, even if you live in Philly, let alone are visiting from Philly, outside of Philly. So, I would say that that's one thing. The list of recommended restaurants, I am certainly not complaining to be listed in the same breath as Vetri, Vernick, and Kalaya, and some other of my esteemed colleagues. But I mean, it is subjective, um, because maybe the inspector came on an off day, or maybe the inspector came, on a day when, we just recently had a chef change. So, any of those things could influence, um, the Michelin rating. Um, and it's hard to say. And also, because media is driving so much media drives the James Beard Awards. It's sometimes hard to be noticed if you're a small, mom and pop shop, for example.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are I don't, as much as I love to see the awards that Philadelphia restaurants get from both the Beards and Michelin, there's still they're covering just a microcosm of really great restaurants that are not getting the recognition. And I can't say it's a PR issue. It's just like the Michelin, of course, Michelin will not say how many restaurants they visited, but I'm sure it was just a small fraction of the restaurants that possibly could qualify for it. They also stopped at the city limits, and there's one chef. I'm not going to mention who it is. It doesn't really matter anyway. Who has a restaurant on the main line, and he was crushed when I told him that the inspectors are not coming out to the main line. That this is they made it a point of saying that they were only evaluating Philadelphia city restaurants. And it's to the point where I think maybe he wants to open a restaurant in Philadelphia just to try to qualify for Michelin. But again, it's just not. Philly has some great restaurants that I think everybody on the Zoom here has heard of, but they're not always getting the recognition. Whether it's the Beard the people who create the long list of the beard restaurants, um, some of it may be political. I mean, I'm a natural born cynic. I think some of it is political. Some of it is, you know, they have they like the people putting this list together have their favorites and they put them on the list. And of course, and this is a whole other topic, the food publications, Food and Wine and Bon Appetit, they really copy the same restaurants again and again and again. I've never seen a publication outside of Philadelphia really get it right in terms of scouting out unknown or not unknown, unheralded great restaurants in Philly. It seems like it's the same um, cast of characters. And call me a cynic, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that both have been criticized for being insular.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, and if you can, Ellen, you could never ever say that only restaurant that being outstanding restaurateur is not a big deal. It's a huge deal. And I'm going to show you guys something. And I know this is on the Zoom and it's being recorded, but I went to Chicago for the Beard Awards in 2017. I just found this on my phone. And that was the year that Steven Starr won Outstanding Restaurateur. And it became a joke because he had become for a while the Susan Lucci of the restaurant world. He was nominated many times and never won. And his staff, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to hold a very short video clip up to my screen. I hope you can see it. And can you see this? Or let
Mhm.
me. Okay. So there was a medal that they handed out that they actually had for the party, and it says Are we seeing it? Okay. All right. Anyway, this was a big deal for him back in 2017. And Ellen, I know your staff was not nearly as cheeky about your your win, but it's a huge honor, and it tells, you know, uh, being a restaurateur, and I know this is a little bit off topic here, but being a restaurateur, I think, is much more important than being a chef. And I say this because, and Ellen's not a chef, and neither is Stephen for that matter. The chefs, they come, they go. Um, they of course put out great food, but you need a great operation. You need somebody out there telling the chef, no, your food costs cannot be 35%. We're going to go out of business. And how to keep a team happy. And that's the other thing, because the restaurant industry is hugely mobile and hugely uh, fast moving, and bad choice of words there, but it's to keep a team happy, and a happy team is a productive team, and a productive team makes for a great restaurant, and that's what Ellen does. So
Thanks, Michael. But just going back to one other thing we were talking about, the impact of those awards is also talent, because for the longest time, and especially right before Eli Culp came to Philadelphia, I had this wonderful chef, Terrence Fury, so talented. And when Terrence left, I remember thinking to myself, people would walk by and say, this is a really great restaurant, but they wouldn't come in. And I was just like, huh, that's really interesting. And I started interviewing chefs, and so many chefs wanted to work in cities that had Michelin because it's almost like a resume marker. So having Michelin also will bring in more talent to our city, which I think is really important. And when you win these awards, people take you more seriously. And, fortunately, Fork has had a long history, so people know that it's a place where it's consistent and has a reason why it's been there for a long time. So we do get people from out of town applying for jobs, but it is a competitive market right now. I mean, we've been trying to hire a line cook, and we have ads out everywhere, and it's very, very hard to find qualified talent.
Ellen, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you start with that one, because I'm not very
Well,
excited.
well, I mean, obviously, we're all excited about the possibility of having a banner year. So, I mean, that always gets people excited. But, I think that there's been a few trends that we've been seeing, which are really exciting. One is the rise of bakeries. Sisterly Love just partnered with Visit Philly, and we created this 30 bakery, and there's so many more than that. 30 bakery map of Philadelphia, where you could ride bikes, you could run, you could walk. But it really shows the neighborhoods and all the different aspects of bakeries as a community center within each neighborhood. And I think that's part of what's so exciting about this year as well, is that neighborhoods that maybe have been off the beaten path are getting their own little neighborhood restaurant. I mean, like, who thought that Kensington 10 years ago would become what it is today? Um, and new neighborhoods are even developing as a result of new restaurants. So I think that that's all very exciting. And also just the diversity of new restaurants. I mean, years ago, every restaurant that opened up was either French, Italian, you know, um, now you have all different variations of Southeast Asian cuisine, which is very exciting. Probably different regions of Mexico cuisine being developed, and they're everywhere. Center City, Fishtown, South Philly, Southeast Philly, Southwest Philly. I mean, every place is kind of starting to really have that place that could bring people in.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more activity in the neighborhoods too. And Kensington is already at the critical mass stage. They're really, as to Ellen's point, 10 years ago, Kensington was really had no restaurant scene. Was had some bars, but really no restaurants. But you know, you look at how things have migrated. You know, Fishtown was maybe 15 years ago. I'm trying to think of when Frankfurt Hall opened around '08. No, 20, about 2008. Before then, Fishtown was pretty quiet. Then, of course, Fishtown got really developed and it started moving out toward the river and a little bit north into Kensington. So I don't know. I don't see, I see Kensington filling in, but aside from that, I see Mount Airy. I see Manayunk has at least one new project. Um, Chestnut Hill, which has been pretty quiet for a long time, has three pretty substantial projects coming up. Um, and then, of course, South Jersey, to some extent, yes, a lot of it is chains over there. The bakeries and the coffee shops, and especially coffee like the Third Spaces, the places like the Yemeni coffee houses that are popping up everywhere: West Philly, South Philly, Fishtown. I live in Montgomery County. We're getting a Yemeni coffee shop in Flourtown, of all places, which, you know, that didn't strike me as a destination for it, but they're opening one. So, um, but there, I see on a larger scale, I see only a couple of big splashy projects coming up this year, which tells me that the big splashy projects from 2025 are going to be um, there's I think that's all we're going to get for a while. Jeffrey Chodorow is building this incredible restaurant at the Bellevue. I've seen it. And I've seen renderings of it. It's got uh, a Ferris wheel over the bar with high end bottles getting spun around. It's going to be wild. But aside from that, there's really not much. Oh, Star's new restaurant on Rittenhouse Square may open by the end of the year, but that's sort of up in the air right now whether it's going to make it in 2026. I know he wants to open it in 26, but it's probably going to end up taking longer. There's um I think that the small restaurants this year are going to be the ones that make the most impact. I'm sorry if I ramble, but it's yeah. Yeah, it's where the Devon Seafood Grill was.
Mhm.
And I'd say Reading Terminals absolutely. I That's without a question that is that may be the only stop I well, no, I would definitely take them to Reading Terminal. You can get just about anything there. You actually see, even now, even today, you can see it's a working market that where yes, people are going in there to grab lunch, and but people do their shopping there. And I think I do my shopping there. I mean, I go to the counters and then I hop on regional rail and come home. And I see a lot of people, workers, people coming in to work in their office jobs, and they come in there and shop and go home. And of course, it's a great place for lunch. Reading Terminal really has to be experienced.
Yeah,
That's the
agree.
one stop. And then,
One,
go ahead.
adding one other thing to Reading Terminal is that there's people of all different generations operating businesses there. Some of them are brand new and like trying to like the Sammy Sami. They're like this is their first operation, or like Bassett's Ice Cream or other businesses that have been there forever. But I just ran into this woman who I can't think of the name of her business, but it's Filipino, and She started working there 25 years ago, not as an owner, but she like saw her entire career develop within the Reading terminal, which I just think is an
Yeah,
amazing
Tabachoy.
story. Yeah,
Yeah, Tabachoy, the Filipino stand on the sort of
yeah.
I call it the back. It's on the Arch Street side, but she worked for the Hero Place for a long time and just decided. And so it's a great story. It's a microcosm of the city. It has the immigrant story, the uh, it's to me it's the perfect food venue. It really is.
I
Um,
love that. And I love the Italian market because even though, I would show people the Italian market, but I love that there's Asian. I love that there's Mexican. I love that there's Fiorella and Biederman and um, Binding Agents and all these other businesses that are all kind of centered in this one little area, which is just so sweet.
yeah.
Right. Mhm.
Mm. I mean, my big reservation hack is to, and it's not really a hack, it's to be a regular somewhere, or at least to get yourself, and you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to fawn and lavish someone with praise, but just acknowledge that a restaurant that you like, let them know that you like them. And more of a personal kind of thing where uh, yeah, you could look at the uh, you know that such and such a restaurant issues its reservations at noon on the first of the month, and you're ready to go with that. But at other times, somehow reach out to them, find out where they shop. Beer, and if you're a regular, of course, talk to them. Let management know who you are, and you might get a cell number. You might get some kind of advantage to get a table. Some of the tables, and not every restaurant is this competitive. I'm thinking we just did an article the last couple of days on um, these restaurant scalpers, the reservation scalpers, and it's crazy what these people are doing. They're booking all these reservations, and um, they're hoarding them for themselves, and then they're selling them. That's like that's the antithesis of hospitality. I think it's very entrepreneurial, but it's not really, it's not good. Well, it was yeah, we had a story that the city made it illegal, but again, it's one of those things where how do you enforce it? It's right. Yeah. Yeah.
My
Yeah. But I get
approach
go ahead. No.
my approach is a little bit different because, I also am a diner and I will take a late reservation at a restaurant that I really want. And everybody knows that I eat late, but sometimes I want to eat at a normal time because I'm with other people who don't want to eat at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. And I'll take the reservation and then I'll write in my reservation profile that I really want to come to the restaurant and that it's a special occasion and if anything opens up earlier to please let me know. and then I'll put myself on the wait list and I'll repeat the same thing. I'll DM them, I'll say the same thing. But I do think that, when you have a reservation, even if it's on an off time, it kind of shows that you do want it. And, we scour reservation books and we always have cancellations all the time. And I actually think that walking in is equally a great technique, because once you're there, no one wants to say no to you. They're always going to be trying their hardest to make it work, even if you have to wait a little bit. But I mean, is it so bad to go have a drink someplace else and then come back? And, of course, if you're in the middle of nowhere and there is nowhere else to go, that could be a problem. But, in most cases, there's a neighborhood bar or someplace where you could go and just have a drink and wait it out. But I agree with being a regular, because people always notice you. But I also think that making a reservation and asking for that earlier time is also effective. 5 p.m. is good too, but 5 o'clock is the new 7 o'clock. I mean, like, High Street is packed at 5 o'clock, believe it or not. I don't, and even Fork, because people are eating earlier and earlier. I think that 6:30 is the new 7:30. Well, I was on a panel someplace, and I can't remember where it was, where Raheem Manning was talking about the fact that Philadelphia restaurants should open later during this period of time. And I think I just saw in the Inquirer that there was a story about more and more restaurants having later hours. I mean, I remember when I opened Fork, we were open till 11:30 at night, and it was busy at 11:30 at night. So it is possible that things go in that direction. But I probably would be more apt to kind of pick and choose days when I know that there are going to be a lot of people in town, and then maybe extend it to 10:30. I don't think that I'll be serving till 2 a.m. I think I'll have a revolt.
Yeah, I haven't heard any kind of talk about staying open much past 11 o'clock. They say that nothing good ever happens after midnight, and I think nowadays, especially after the pandemic, it's just everything is eating times are earlier. People aren't drinking as much in restaurants. That's what I hear anyway. So the late night bar crowds, that maybe in the bars they're open late, but the restaurant bars typically aren't staying open that late anymore.
Well, it's harder and harder because, costs are increasing. Labor in particular is increasing. And so if you're not having a robust dinner service at 10:30, it doesn't really make sense to keep the kitchen open necessarily. So I think, I would probably, um, you know, for a special occasion, no problem. Like New Year's Eve, obviously we serve till late, but we'll have to see how it goes. I think one turning point was in like 2010, 2011, when you started seeing chefs like Greg Vernick come back to Philadelphia, Peter Serpico, Eli Culp, chefs that were coming in from outside markets wanting to consider Philadelphia their home. And I feel like that was kind of when things started to ramp up for Philadelphia, in my opinion.
Yeah, 9/11 was a huge turning point for Philly. A lot of New York chefs moved down. They were tired of they took stock after that happened, and they just I'm just thinking of all I wrote a story about it maybe in 2002, 2003 about all of the New York chefs who just relocated and went to work for people like Ellen and Star and um I think that may have been when Schulzen came down. It's all that was a really big wave. But I think Ellen's point about Michelin
Salt.
attracting more talent to Philly is going to be a big thing, and that I haven't anecdotally I haven't heard about it, but I imagine that it's going to happen. It's happened in other Michelin cities.
I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah, I have I mean, I have a lot of problems with influencers. I think that, like as a journalist, and I'm always trying to wrap my head around the fact that these people are really it's promotion and it's like public relations and um they're like as a journalist, I'm looking at things from a like I don't get paid. Ellen doesn't pay me. She doesn't comp me. I have, my company credit card. We pay for all of our own meals. So we're not being quote bought. And um, I mean, we are gatekeepers. I understand that part. And that part troubles me a little bit because I like a free flow of information, but I don't think the general public realizes that these influencers are really looking out for themselves and not for their audience. And again, it's the cynic in me. But I don't know. It troubles me, but it also does help some restaurants. There are some of these influencers, if you want to call them that, who are not the shills. They're not the paid content creators. People who actually go out and try to do good for restaurants. They may be independently wealthy, and they're not taking a free meal, and they are amplifying and giving a voice to the voiceless, which is essentially what we try to do in journalism. So again, I'm really conflicted about it, but that's how I see it.
Philly sandwich is the roast pork.
Yeah.
Everybody comes in and they're like, where should I get a cheesesteak? And I'm like, roast pork all the way.
Um, I would say to keep an open mind and not follow the crowds and make your own decision. And if you like a place, talk it up. You're a restaurant, you meaning you guys and everybody are restaurateurs. If it's good, let everybody know about it. Let them succeed. Scream it from the top of the mountains. If you don't like it, the other thing is if you don't like it, don't jump online and trash them online. Give a restaurant the fairness and the respect of going to management. And then if you don't get a satisfactory response, then put it out there, but be civil about it. Everybody has bad days.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I would much rather, you know, talk to somebody right when it's happening, fix it right away, than, read about it the next day and feel like, I didn't have a chance to fix it.